You know how some people just seem to be, well, born speakers? They can tell a story that has everyone hanging on every word, or they can step up and lead a room with no problem. Well, it turns out the reason why might be thousands of years old, and it's tied directly to the core of who you are. Today, we're going to dig into that fascinating link between your personality and your power as a speaker.
So, just for a second, which one of these feels most like you? When you're in a group, are you the one lighting up the conversation? Or do you take charge and get things done? Maybe you're the one thinking through every single detail before you speak. Or maybe you're the calm presence, just taking it all in. Go ahead and pick one and keep it in mind.
Okay, let's get into it. To understand all this, we're going to use a framework that's been around for centuries, the four ancient temperaments. It's a really simple but, surprisingly powerful way to look at our own natural tendencies.
And look, this isn't some new age fad we just cooked up. This idea goes all the way back to 400 BC with Hippocrates. Yeah, that Hippocrates. He first connected our personalities to what he called the four humors. Then, a few centuries later, the physician Galen refined it into the four temperaments we're talking about today. And even now, authors like Florence Littauer have shown just how relevant these ancient ideas still are for figuring out why we do the things we do.
So first up, we've got the sanguine personality. If your friend group has that one person who's just the life of the party, odds are they're a sanguine. These are the talkers.
Just picture that person who can walk into a room full of strangers and leave with like 3 new best friends. That is a sanguine to a T. Their real superpower isn't just that they talk a lot, it's that they're amazing storytellers. They just pull you in with all this energy and enthusiasm, and suddenly you want to be part of whatever they're excited about. Their vibe is just contagious.
All right, let's switch gears. Next up is the choleric. And in a lot of ways, they're the total opposite of that fun-loving sanguine. These folks are the doers. They're the movers and shakers of the world.
See, a choleric doesn't just talk, they direct. Their words are basically tools to get things done, to build, to organize, to achieve. They ooze confidence, they're super decisive, and they just want to cut right to the chase and find a practical solution. Seriously, if you need a plan and you need someone to make sure it actually happens, you go find a choleric.
Okay, now for our first introverted type, the melancholic. If the sanguine kind of lives out loud, the melancholic lives in this really rich, deep inner world. They're the thinkers.
Now, don't ever mistake their quietness for having nothing to say. Oh no. A melancholic is usually silent because they're busy crafting the perfect thing to say. These are your artists, your engineers, your philosophers. They value precision, they value depth. So when they finally do speak, you listen because you know every single word was chosen for a reason.
And last but not least, we have the phlegmatic. They're that steady, easygoing force of calm in what can be a pretty chaotic world. They are the watchers.
Phlegmatics are the glue that holds any group together, for sure. They're natural diplomats. And what's interesting is that their greatest speaking skill is often their ability to listen. They avoid conflict, not because they're weak, but because they're busy trying to find common ground. They're that sympathetic, calm presence you can always count on, and they often have this wicked, dry sense of humor hiding just under the surface.
So, okay, we've got these 4 ancient personality types. Cool, but the real question is, does any of this actually matter in the real world? Like, does it predict how well we actually speak today? Well, one recent study decided to put it to the test.
A researcher named Thafal Nadifa wanted to see if there was a real, measurable connection between these temperaments and how well university students performed in their English speaking skills. And the test? Formal academic presentations. A pretty high-pressure situation where how you communicate is absolutely key.
And here's where it gets really interesting. When they surveyed the students, get this, over 80% of them identified as either phlegmatic or melancholic. Yep, the 2 introverted types. The extroverted sanguines and cholerics, they were actually a pretty small minority in the group. So how did they all do?
All right, this is the good part. The researcher analyzed recordings of all the students' presentations, scoring everything from fluency and grammar to pronunciation. And the results were pretty fascinating. So here's the bottom line. Even though they were the smallest groups, the sanguine and choleric students, our extroverted talkers and doers, came out on top. They consistently got the highest scores, landing squarely in the excellent category. Some of them even got perfect scores. They absolutely crushed it.
Now, the melancholic thinkers also did incredibly well, scoring in that excellent range too, which just goes to show that their deep preparation really paid off. It was the phlegmatic watchers who had the most trouble. They scored in the fair to good range, and while they came across as calm, they sometimes struggled with things like clarity and confidence.
And this right here, this breaks down why they scored the way they did. The sanguines were just so energetic and spontaneous. The cholerics came across as assertive and confident. The melancholics were super accurate and structured, but you could hear their perfectionism in their hesitation. And the phlegmatics, they were calm and steady, but that very calmness sometimes translated into a lack of vocal energy.
Okay, so what in the world does all of this mean for you, for your own speaking style? How can you actually use your natural personality to become a better, more powerful communicator?
Well, it's pretty simple, really. First, figure out your dominant style. Are you that sanguine talker, the choleric doer, the melancholic thinker, or the phlegmatic watcher? Second, lean into your natural strengths. If you've got that sanguine energy, use it. If you're a melancholic, show off all that deep preparation you did. And third, just be aware of the challenges. A choleric might need to work on empathy, while a phlegmatic might need to practice projecting their voice with a bit more punch.
You know, in the acknowledgments of her paper, the researcher wrote this incredibly powerful note to herself. It's such a beautiful reminder that the goal isn't to try and change who you are. It's about working with what you've got, leaning into your strengths, and understanding that just showing up and surviving, that is its own kind of success.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you have a better idea of your own natural style, what's one thing you'll do differently the next time you have to speak? Whether it's embracing your inner storyteller or just preparing that little bit extra, remember this: your personality isn't a limitation, it's your secret weapon.